Hello, welcome to Virginia School of Traditional Arts. We're going to show you all some processes that we use to make our specialty knives. These are knives that a gentleman has requested that we use particular wood that he has gotten in South America, and he has made cutting boards himself, and we're going to make some knives that'll match the cutting boards. He specifically asked us for a mirror finish and to use his wood, of course. So he's mailed us the wood. He wanted a spreader, and we're going to call this one a spreader. And it's not sharp. I mean, it's a thin blade, but it's not been sharpened at all. So it's for butter and such like that. This one we're going to call a cheese knife, is what's the other type he requested. It has a fork on the end, pretty sharp, and it's meant to be sharp. And if you stay with us today, you can see some of our processes that we use to make these custom knives. We can make any kind of knife you want. We can use your materials if necessary. Not a problem. And so hope you all enjoy. Hello, welcome back to the shop. We've got another little project today. We're going to be using another handsaw. I've just got this one out to show you. It's just an old handsaw. We pick them up at the auctions and the junk stores, and you can usually get them for $1 or $2 or $3. Sometimes you pay a little more for them if they're really nice shape. But we want to use up the ones that are in bad shape, I guess. We have a gentleman, and he lives up towards DC. And he wants a set of knives to match his cutting board, and he's actually sent us this wood. And this wood is what his cutting board is made out of, and he has gotten this back from South America. I think he goes down there on business or something, and he's brought back some pieces of this pretty red wood. He told me what type of wood it was, but I can't remember at the moment. And so if you want to see how we got our patterns, you can check out our other video about making a fillet knife. We use the same materials. We go through how to make the pattern. And at this point, we've got our patterns made, and we've got our blanks more or less roughed out. And so we'll take you through the rest of the process. And we're going to use this beautiful red wood to make handles with. All we have left to do here is, when we make our pattern, I always make my pattern a little bigger than I truly want the knife, because we're always, nobody's perfect. We can gouge a little bit or something. And so at this point, it's pretty close to our pattern. But what's left is where I've drawn with a marker around to make it onto the actual blade when we cut it out. And the way you cut out this is do not use a bandsaw for this. Use a angle grinder with a straight cutting grinding disc on it, a little thin disc, and you just basically make little cuts around. And we took our time with that. We kept a wet cloth on this so it was not heating the metal up. We're trying not to heat the metal up. We're not gonna heat treat this. This is a cheese knife and a little spreader, so it's not a these aren't like highly sharp knives to begin with. All you do is cut cheese with them. But in any case, we're keeping the temper in our metal by using a wet cloth to keep our metal cool while we're cutting it with our little angle grinder. And we're just cutting about 1 inch at a time and cooling it, and then working our way around. We took a flap disc and came in here tight with our flap disc, and I've used our belt grinder to just dress up the edges a little bit. We've got them pretty close. Two knives. Check our handles here, see what we got. Yeah, that's a lot closer. A lot closer, just a smidge bigger. That's what I was wanting. Just a smidge bigger than that handle. I left a little meat here so this wouldn't be quite as flexible. It's going to be flexible, but it's not going to be, I don't want it to break there, I guess is what I'm saying. And again, left a little meat right there, what made the back end pretty close to what it is. And I smoothed up these transitions. This is a nice smooth curve, and this is a nice smooth curve. I got a little bobble right on the point there, but this is a fairly nice smooth curve here. And what I was just doing with the vibrating sander here, when we use our flap disc or our belt sander, it raises a burr on these, and that'll mess up when you're putting your handles on, and it's sharp, it will cut you, so we knock it off with that. But this is where we're at on these knives. So we're going to work on our block of wood next. And all we did, we took our hardware out of this. I knocked these pegs loose. Just took a hatchet and hit them a few times, and they just popped loose. I was going to either cut them off or pop them loose, and they just popped loose. Whatever kind of glue we had didn't manage to glue much. I did err on the side of caution. Some of the wood you're getting from South America, some of the wood we have here in America, when you're cutting it, sanding it, you want to use a respirator. I'm not familiar with this particular wood, so I use my respirator when I cut it, but all I did is took it to the bandsaw, picked out the best side of this thing, and ripped us off a chunk. So we've got a few flaws in this. I've got a couple of knots down here on this edge. I've got a big old dowel hole here. This end looks pretty good. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put these on here and trace us a handle. And we're going to work around some of those flaws. So with this big goober here, I just want to make sure I'm leaving enough room for this handle. Like about there would be much better. So what we'll do, we'll draw this cheese without spinning it all over. Without spinning it all over. A real long point coming down. Cut it in half. I knocked the corners off of that one, but what I want to do next is drill my holes for my pins, and then I'll put this on and we'll retrace it probably on the other side, but we'll retrace that and cut it out pretty close to that line, because when you put your holes on here it can shift on you a little bit. So if we cut it out exact now and we shift those holes, we'll be out of wood pretty quickly. I don't have a bunch of this wood, so we're going to baby it a little bit, but we've got plenty of handle there. That's too much handle, so we'll end up knocking off right much of that. The sander, or might even take it back to the table saw and rip it down a little bit. We got it where we can see what our piece is going to look like. About that, got a little hit of myself. I've drilled one hole, lined up my piece of metal, drilled the hole through the Of course, we had it through the metal and we drilled it into our block of wood. I put my pin stock in there that'll hold my position. And now all I have to do is drill the second hole, lining it up. This is the orientation of the handle as it originally was. All right, and so we've got them drilled. We've got it where it'll slide on and off, more or less. If we can get it to go straight, there we go. We've got our pins in this side. This is the inside portion that we're looking at, and this is going to be our outside, and I've got that marked. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just draw around our handle, and we're going to start and cut that handle out pretty close to the line. When we're drawing with this fat marker, I can either lean the marker in or out, and depending on what way I'm leaning it is how much I'm leaving around this thing. So right now I'm leaning it, not doing as tight as I can. So that's our mark that we have at the moment. So I'm just going to step over the bandsaw and trim out most of that. I got that cut out. Now what I'll do is I'll just insert my pins again. I'll put them so far in there. And we'll take our other piece, making sure we're lining it up correctly. And we've got it lined up correctly. We've got our original surface on this side. This is lined up. And when I'm doing two knives at a time, I'll do something to it so it makes it look different, so I don't get my pieces stirred around. And we've got our outside and our outside marked. So now I'll just go around and get off what I can here. And since I've got this to this point, I'm going to use something here to make me a curve that I like from point to point here. And we'll cut out that. So now what we're going to do is put these back together. And we're going to take them over and we're going to sand this corner here up with the metal out of it, of course, and make this like we want, level them up, see it's different. And then we'll put the piece of metal in there and we'll sand the rest of the profile with the metal inside of it. But we'll work on this portion for it first. Now we'll stick our knife back in here, see what we got. But that's him. That's the way the front of it will be at this point. My original idea was to cut this off straight and not have this flare out here. And we're going to take it in and sit down with it a few minutes and hold it. See what we think about that. See if that's looking good or do we want to change that. Right now is the time. If we're going to change that and make it straight out here, certainly can. Prior to us gluing this on, we're going to glue it on and do the rest of the profile, but we're going to do whatever we're going to do on this front side first before we glue it and make sure that that looks correct, because we don't want to touch that after we glue it. Get out the way. Alright, this is what they look like at 220 grit. This is a random orbital sander. I do up to 150 grit with the belt sander, then I do 150 grit with the just a half sheet vibrating sander, and then I do 220 with the random orbital sander. And that's kind of the finish you're getting there now. We're looking to make sure that we're getting all the big scratches out, and it's fairly quick to do it up to this point. And once we start getting the real fine sandpaper, it slows way down because you've got to work on every little teeny bit of scratches if you've got any big ones left. So we want to get all the big ones out now. I'm going to stop at this point, and I'm going to cut in our fork and our little extra piece to make this kind of look round, and dress that up with a file a little bit so we can continue sanding, and that'll be part of it as well. Take this up to a mirror finish. This is 1200 grit sandpaper. Excuse some of my mess here, but this is what we have at the moment. And I had so many gun shop customers today, I couldn't film the first part of this, but basically I took it out of the clamps, which I showed y'all on previous videos. It's been glued together, had the pin in it. The pins stick out, of course. We cut them off with the pliers, just a pair of just everyday lineman's pliers. These are a little fancier ones, but they just something that will cut a piece of brass. And of course that leaves it sticking up just a teeny bit. And so we take it over to our belt sander and we push it on each side so it's down flat. Then we get our profile. Our handle pieces are bigger than our blade, or bigger than our handle part that's in our blade. And so we get our profile down, and then we put a groove in it using our belt sander, and then we taper that handle back. And what you just saw me do was just rounding up. You keep it in a square to start with. Get your dimensions looking right. You can always look down the sides here and make sure that you're looking the same thickness from the center all the way down. And now it just goes over to the vibrating sander, and we've got it roughed out. We've got our shape that we want, pretty close, and they feel good. And we're just going to finish sanding them. We can see our progress. We've got it up to 400 grit on our handle. See what our handles are looking like. And they're feeling super smooth. We protected our blade best we can. I know we're going to have a few dings or something on it. We've polished we sanded the blades from 100, 150, 220, 400, 600, 800, 1200, and then we buffed them. And we've done our handles, we've done 100, 150, 220, 400. And 400 is usually where I stop on the handles. You can't get the wood but so smooth because it's just porous. And so we're going to stop on the handles, we're going to clean them up, which means dust them off, more or less. And we're going to put some finish on these. We've cleaned our handles off with a clean paper towel, got the dust off of it, that's our goal. And I have shown how to make my food safe handle finish here on another video. We'll stick a link on this one for that. But it's basically beeswax in walnut oil. Walnut oil. And so basically all you do, and I've microwaved this so that it's hot. And all we're doing is wiping this on a good coat. And as it dries or cools, it gets hardened, and you can buff it at that point with just a paper towel. There was one. And what I like about this, it's food safe, number one. Number two, it's easy to come by ingredients, so you can make it yourself. You don't have to buy anything, other than the ingredients, of course. But and you can reapply it at any time. It's super easy. It's not dishwasher safe by any means, and if you wash it in water, you want to dry it off pretty quickly. You don't want your handles to soak in the water. So basically you dry them off and you can reapply this finish at any point. And it will bring back the finish just like it was the day we put it on, which is today. And just buff it a little bit. Just working good. And we're just buffing it. Everywhere. We want to make sure that we got our end grains. That's what'll soak this up the most. Soak this up the most is our end grain. So there's our handle. Alright, this is our finished product. This is our little spreader for cheese and butter and such. It's got a mirror finish on it. And wood from South America. Nice pretty red kind of wood. Got a food safe finish on the handle. And this is our little cheese knife with a fork on the end. Again with the food safe finish. And mirror polish, and we're going to call this one done. Alright, I hope y'all have enjoyed watching us make these two custom knives. If you have, please like and subscribe. Check us out on Etsy. Check us out on our Virginia School of Traditional Arts webpage, VSTA. You can see those links in our description. Give us a call if you want to set up a class. During the pandemic, we've been doing as-needed classes, so that you know, if you and a buddy or you and your wife want to come and take a class, we can teach you knife making, to cast iron cooking, horticulture. It's going to be springtime here for long. It's cold right now, but it'll be time to plant your garden for long. We do square foot gardening classes. We run a bed and breakfast. And so if you would like to come and have a little class and stay with us at the bed and breakfast, that'd be awesome.